Today, I'm going to show you how to do this patriotic painting. Alrighty, just a few tools we'll be using today. So I have my big 2-inch brush, I have a fan brush, and I have a painting knife. So I have a smaller painting knife. The fan brush, I prefer the larger number 6, but number 6 fan brush. It's easier to get a chisel on, I find. And then for brushes, I have a couple extra 1-inch brushes. That way I can keep my colors separate and I don't have to just waste time cleaning brushes. And then also for my paint, I have Alizarin Crimson, Phthalo Blue, Midnight Black. If you have Midnight Black, you can use that, or if you have Mountain Mix, you can use that, or you can combine the red and blue. This is basically just for your mountain base and your tree base. And then we also have our titanium white. All right, so the other thing I have, we're just gonna wet the whole thing basically with liquid clear. You can use the Bob Ross liquid clear, or there's like a Grumbacher one, liquid first clear coat. So you can use that as well, or linseed oil. Just make sure it's very, very, very thin. So we'll go ahead and do that first. So I'm just going to take my 2-inch brush and dip it in here, just a teensy little bit there. And then what I do is I kind of dab all over, and then I grind it. I grind it in. That way it gets as thin as possible. Because like I said, you want this to be as thin as possible. If it's too thick, when it dries, you'll get like this cracking effect. So you just want this super, super thin. You can even, if you're not quite sure if it's thin enough, you can go over it with like a paper towel and just kind of wipe it down. You'll feel it in your arm. For sure. If your arm is getting tired, you're doing it right. Whew, okay. We need a little bit more, so I'm just going to take just the corner. Dab that in. Grind it, grind it, grind it. There we go. I love black canvases though. They're my absolute favorite. So I love doing black canvases, and I'm just doing this going up and down, left and right, just making sure it's just nice and even there. And if you have any little hairs, you can just pop them out with the corner of your brush, just boop, like so. And then to clean off my brushes, not using any paint thinner until I'm completely done. But I'm just wiping with paper towel in between. If you bring your brush into paint thinner and it doesn't get completely dry and you take it back into your painting, you're literally erasing stuff because you're painting with paint thinner. So I suggest not doing that. So I don't use paint thinner until I'm completely done. Unless it's a smaller brush. If it's a smaller brush like a fan brush or a script liner, no issues. No issues. But the bigger brush is the 2-inch, the 1-inch. Yeah, you don't want to clean those until you're completely done. All right, so we are done with our liquid clear here. Just going to put that aside. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put down our colors. So I'll switch over to, like I said, I have a multitude of brushes so that I don't have to, keep wiping and cleaning and all that. So this one here, I'm going to start with the red. So I'm going to, basically I'm just going to take the 1-inch brush. I'm just going to tap Just gonna tap some red in. And the reason I'm tapping is to get an even distribution of the color. Look at that. I don't know if you can see if it'll focus there. There it is. So nice even distribution there. So the red, so we're having this like galaxy arm here, but there's also a reflection down here. So you can put this kind of right in the middle. I'm going to do middle or a little lower than the middle. So I'm going to go like right here, and we're just going to crisscross in this little stripe of red. Little nose itch there. And that's good there because I want to try to leave a little bit of white because that's the whole thing, red, white, and blue. So I'm going to wipe off the excess of paint onto my paper towel here. So I do this number. I kind of flick it with my thumb and then put it in like my palm and kind of do a little swirly thing. So I do that to clean it off. And then I'm going to switch over to a different brush for my blue. Okay, we have our phthalo blue. Same thing. Knock, knock, knock. All right. And like I said, I'm going to try to leave a white space in here. So I'm going to put this blue just kind of like across the top here. And again, just kind of crisscrossing. And come a little lower. All right, then I want a little down here too. I'm going to tap a little of that blue. It's hard to see because these colors are transparent, so that's kind of sometimes the fun of these like nebula paintings and Northern Lights paintings. You never quite know what you're gonna get until you put that white in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off. Same thing, just kind of flicking. Yeah, it looks pretty even there. All right, so what we're gonna do next, so I'm gonna grab my fan brush and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put in that galaxy arm here. So take a fan brush, tap it into some white. This can be messy. This doesn't have to be super clean because I want a good deal of white on there. There it is. I want a good deal of white because the white that we put on here, we're going to like blend out. All right. So what I like to do for these like galaxy arm and nebulas is I kind of like to do this kind of twisty motion with my wrist. So you'll see what I mean. And what I'm doing is I'm using just like the corner of my fan brush here. So I'm going to start it. I can see the red is like right here. So I'm going to start it like right about here. And we're just going to twisty, twisty, twisty. I'm going to switch to the other side for the blue. All right, now without cleaning my brush, you see I got red and blue on either side there. So I'm going to go back down here. Like I said, there's going to be reflection here. I'm going to use the red corner, and I'm going to try to like kind of echo that a little. and then into the blue. There we go. All right, now I'm going to wipe that off. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side here, the other side of the arm. So let us tap into some more of that white. Like, now which one's, oh yeah, there it is. I was like, which other side is red light? All right, so I'm doing the other. Let's see how I'm kind of like undulating. Some parts are closer together, some are further away. And then I switched over to the blue there. And same thing down here. Obviously, this isn't going to be a perfect mirror image or anything, but all right, that's pretty good there. So I'm going to wipe that off. And if you want, you can clean this with your paint thinner. So I just have a bucket with my paint thinner in it, and there's just like a screen in there. The screen is for rubbing the bristles against to get all the paint off. All right. And then for my hands, I have baby wipes. You don't want to use the baby wipes on the brushes, but the baby wipes are just for cleaning off your hands and cleaning off your palette. And, well, if you get paint anywhere else, you know. Clothes too. You can kind of spot clean on your clothes, but if you do get oil paint on your clothes, just use Dawn. Just use Dawn and water. All right. So now we're going to take that white that we've put there. We're going to like blend it out. So I'm going back to my 1-inch brushes. I have one red and one blue. So I'll start with that red first. And then we're just going to go into this white and just use the corner of our brush and just kind of blend outwards. So kind of like tiny little circular motions here. And this part's fun because it's like you get to blend out as much as you want and where you want. So the more white you put on during the last phase, that's the white that's going to be available to you to blend out. If you go too skimpy the first time, that's fine. You can go back in and add more white to blend out. No problem there. So see, I'm just like going back and forth, like sometimes circles this way, sometimes circles that way. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. Starting to get into that blue there a little bit. This is like my white area. Let's see here. You can take a little bit into the center too. You don't want to leave it like stark black, but you do want to leave the center darker. It takes some practice with these nebulas, but they're so much fun. They're so much fun. And there's a lot of leeway because it's like, well, it's space, you know, so it's kind of free flowing, kind of like clouds, really. Okay. Here I'm just kind of wiping off my brush there, just giving some background for our little, because we're gonna have a little mountain there. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my blue. So you could keep going from the red to the blue with the same brush, but just to keep the colors kind of separated. I'm just using separate ones if you have multiple brushes. All right, now we'll go up here, same thing, little circles. But yeah, these space ones are just so much fun. It's funny, one of my friends on Twitch suggested a long time ago that I do like space paintings, and at the time I was like, I don't know, space is kind of scary to me. A lot of people find space comforting because it's like, you know, something bigger than you that's out there, but I kind of find that kind of terrifying. I don't know, but it is beautiful. But it is funny just to, you know, different perceptions of things in the world. Let's switch down here for a sec. See the blue combining with the red there. Looking fun. Okay, let's see. A little more over here. And up here. And yeah, a little more down here. Nice and fun and cloudy. Okay, I'll put a little more on the inside, a little more on the inside here. Again, just giving some color back here because I'm going to have a little mountain and everything. Yeah, I'll extend this a little bit. Maybe a bit over here. So you can adjust however you want. Obviously, you can do this with any color. If you do yellow, the yellow that's going to work best, the one that's most transparent, is an Indian yellow. Green, you can do phthalo green, viridian. You can do not viridian, phthalo green, sap green. Yeah, viridian. I confuse viridian with vermilion sometimes. Vermilion's red, viridian's green. I think other people do as well. Okay. And add a little bit more over here. Just a little more color in the corner there. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. I mean, you could stop right there. You could stop right there if you wanted to. But we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So wipe off brush there. Wipe off my hands. The blue and green, like they stain. They stain. Okay, so now what we're going to do, this is sometimes a step that I sometimes forget. So people, when I'm painting on Twitch, are like, stars, don't forget the stars. So for stars, this is a really, really cool technique. So the fan brush, you may have cleaned it earlier. If you didn't clean it, now's a good opportunity, because I'm going to dip it into a little bit of paint thinner. And then tap it into some white. You want the consistency so it's not like runny. That might be good. We'll test it out and see. But what you're going to do is you're going to flick the paint against your knife here. I like the bigger knife for this one. So test it out. There we go. Perfect. So the closer you get, the bigger the blotches are, the further away, the mistier it is. So I'm just kind of flicking in kind of controlled areas here. Just a couple inches. However many stars you want, totally up to you. Let's see. It's kind of coming out real misty there. A little more over here. Okay. More over here, more over here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. You can do that with liquid white. If you do it with liquid white, the stars will be globbier. So it won't be as easy to control. Globbier mean like there'll be one big glob star right there, and it's like, ugh. And it's like, yeah, you could cover that up with like a mountain or a tree or something, but I find the paint thinner and titanium white mix is a lot more controllable. All right, so I cleaned off my fan brush there. Now, because this is a reflection, I'm going to do one more little step here. I'm just going to I'll grab the 1-inch brush with the red on it. It doesn't really matter. I can use the 2-inch brush, whichever. And for reflections, now this is very light pressure. I'm just going to take this and just drag. Just drag. This is just to make it look, excuse me, nice and watery. So I dragged it down. I'm going to drag it across. And yes, you have to make the sounds. You know how it is. So it just makes it, like I said, just a little watery. You can go back in a couple areas and make it even more watery if you want. Totally up to you. You can even put like little ripples in later. But this way, if you do it before or do it after the stars, then you get the reflection of the stars in there. Okay. All right. Again, you could have a finished painting right there. You could stop right there if you wanted to. But we're going to keep going. We're going to throw in a little mountain. I'm going to go to my little knife here. And we're going to put our mountain base in. So like I said, I have midnight black, you can use midnight black, you can use anything dark, really. This is when Bob's like, it doesn't matter as long as it's dark. So midnight black, mountain mix, Van Dyke brown, or you can mix the red and blue and make purple. Totally up to you. So what you're going to do, you're just going to pull some of this down, just kind of flatten it out like that. And then cut off little roll of paint. This is always my favorite part when Bob was like, little roll of paint. He shows it to the camera. Little roll of paint. All right, now you're going to make your mountain. We don't want to cover any of that up because it's pretty. So I'm just going to kind of come from the side and just kind of make my mountain here. When you're making your mountains, just kind of think like you don't want them to be pyramids. Don't want that. Not in this painting anyway. I'll grab a little more. That black there. I always have to be careful when I'm scratching my face because I could just be smearing paint all over. I did that for one tutorial. Half the tutorial, I have like a smudge of blue through half the thing, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of making up my mountain shape as I go. It's like, do I want it taller over here, here? I think I want this to be my highest peak, I believe. Just keep in mind, however many peaks you make, then each of those peaks has to have a highlight and a shadow. So the more peaks, the more work, basically. So you see how I'm kind of like putting it in and then scraping it off. When I make my mountains, I kind of come from the bottom and just kind of like, but you see also how I'm kind of like jiggling it so it makes it more natural looking and not too pyramid-y. I think maybe one tiny little peak left over here. I don't know. We'll see. And then it just goes off into oblivion there. Something like that. All right, that's pretty good. Again, getting kind of hard to see because it's black, but once we put the highlight on, it'll emerge. So I'm going to use the blue brush, doesn't matter, whichever brush. And then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to just drag out the excess here. So I'm just dragging out the excess, making it nice and thin. So when you do this, you're making it easier to put the highlights on. Putting the highlights on mountains is always one of the hardest things for people to get. And I will tell you, it does take practice. So don't get frustrated if your mountain highlights aren't looking exactly how you want them to be right away. It does take practice. And I'm just kind of blending the bottom there. Let's wipe that off. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to put our mountain highlight in. Now, you can go straight white with the highlight, but since it's red, white, and blue thing, I think I'm going to put a little bit of red in there, but we don't want to go overboard because, yeah, it's easy to go overboard. Tiny bit. And, start with a tiny bit, and then you can always add more. I think that's pretty good right there. I just want to be like kind of a little warmish. So same thing, you're going to flatten it out just like you did with the mountain base, and whoop, I want a nice even roll of paint here. That's a lot, but that's okay. So I got my not so little roll of paint there. It's fine. That's fine. So what I like to do, if my highlights are on the right side, I like to start on the right side and work my way over. So I'm going to start here. So see how your knife is already shaped like a mountain. So that's the peak right there, and that's the slope. So what you're going to do, I have a very shaky hand, so that's why I'm like, ugh. I have to kind of brace myself. But once the paint latches onto the canvas, then all you're doing is guiding it. So when Bob says no pressure, he's meaning like no pressure onto the, don't smush the paint onto the canvas, because what you're doing is you're gliding it on, and the canvas is just taking off what it wants. So when he says no pressure, like, don't smush it. So I'm gonna line it up here like so. And then like you see how I'm only using like 2 fingers. And I'm just gliding it. I'm going slowly. And I can even go back in and do it again, because I have enough paint that I can. So you can do it. Do it a couple times if you want. And don't worry if you're going into the water, because we're going to blend that out. It's not a problem. Alrighty. I'll wipe off my fingers. I have some blue down here because I was bracing myself. So I'm going to just clean that off just a little bit. Okay. All right. Let me get another strip. That's pretty good. And we're going to go back in up here. Same thing. Like that. I'm going to thin that one out a little bit. All right. Same thing. Grab another roll there. Let's see how I'm doing it for every single peak there. It's just got a little bit of that red in there. It's very, very subtle. Very, very subtle. Same thing. Line it up. Drag it down. This one's gonna kind of warp into that one. A little bit more. Well, actually, you know what? We have a tiny peak over here, so I'm going to grab a little bit on the small part of my knife. I like to use the small part of my knife for like the little crests. And again, just very gentle, very gentle. This will, if you have a heavy hand when you paint, this will teach you to be gentle. For sure. All right, let's I'm gonna do like a little, I don't know, one more peak, or we want a slopey thing. Big decision time. Big decision time. Yeah, one more little peak here. That one, oops. That one go over. And with the excess, just drag down the excess there. Okay. Yeah, a little more. Okay, I think that's good. And then we'll put in our shadows. So for the shadow, I'll wipe off my knife here. And let's see there. Put a little bit of blue, a little bit of black in there. A little more. Make it a little darker. A little more blue, a little more black. I think a little more black. I think, yeah, more black. A little more whites. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So you don't want to overmix it. If you try it out on the canvas and you don't like it, then just, you know, then remix. And then we get our little roll of paint there. And then for the shadow, what you want to do is you want to go up to this middle crest here and you want to drag it towards you. So, show you here. So see how this one's kind of swooping into that one there. Cool. And then, like I said, like at this point, if you think it's too light, too dark, you can adjust. It might go a little darker. Okay, let's go back up here. Or you can always go back in with the black, and you can like put little dark spots in there, little shadowy spots. There we go. See, leaving those little dark spots in there, that's nice. That's nice. Since these are little spots, I'm going to go back to the little part of my knife. And yeah, I'll go over here. Same thing, just go right up to that middle crest and swoop it over. We got a little bit up there. And as you're doing this, you'll also pick up that base color too. So it'll make it extra marbly. So make that shadow a little more pronounced because it's in front of this one. And one more here. And I'll continue with the little one, the little side. And you can always adjust your crests here if you want it. more inclined or what have you. It's like Bob says, don't get rid of all of your dark areas. Those are good. Do you want to make this a little lighter though? Okay, let's see how that looks. Always take a couple steps back and see how it looks from afar. I think that's looking pretty good. All right, so we don't have too much more to go here. So what we're gonna do next is with our base, we're just gonna tap out the base a little bit just to kind of blend it a little. So I'm gonna take, yeah, I'll take the red one brush. Doesn't matter. Just gonna wipe that off there. And I'm just gonna take the bottom corner of the brush and just tap a little bit, just to kind of, like blend up the bottom there, just a little bit. If your mountain went too far down on your canvas, this is a great way to kind of cinch it up a little bit. Or you can always, if you went over a little bit, you could just turn it into reflections either way. So either drag it down, make it into reflections if you have a lot, or you just have a little bit like this. Just tap. And I'm basically tapping in the direction that the slope is going. Getting a little of that blue in there. That's pretty. This is also making a nice misty area for our trees to sit. Tap the other direction here. Okay, that's pretty good there. Maybe a little more. Just a nice little misty area. If you want more mist, you can always add a tiny bit of titanium white to your brush. Tap it, and you can add some more mistiness. But I think that's good for me there. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna have a little row of like distant trees. So I'm gonna grab that same fan brush that I was using before, and I'm just gonna go back into that midnight black, or if you're using purple for the mountain base, you can use that as well, just something dark. And I'm going to wiggle in. Drag both sides one direction. Basically, you want to have a chiseled edge when you're doing this. And as you're doing this, you'll have to re-chisel as well, so you can kind of see. Maybe. There it is, nice and chiseled. Okay. All right, so we like to call these crash down trees. So basically you're taking the top corner of the brush and you're crashing down like that. And you can practice this like on your palette, or if you have a scrap piece of cardboard or paper plate, you can always practice on there first, just to kind of get the motion going. All right, so I'm going to start over here. I'm just going to make a nice little line. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to have some of these, well, actually all these trees reflected into the water as well. So however tall my tree is, I'm going to have the same height going into the water. So I'm going to re-chisel. Re-chisel. And just make the trees different heights. To make them all the same. And make sure at the base here they're kind of connected. Sometimes I'll go back in and tap a little more at the base. That way they don't look like fence posts. Because the trees are going to be thicker at the base. A chisel. And everybody's painting is going to look a little different, so like I said, your mountain might go down further. I'm making these trees go all the way to this kind of vanishing point right there. You don't have to make your trees go that far. See what your painting says to you. And I'm going to continue this way. Keep going. And fill in that middle. And just re-chiseling as we go. And as I'm doing this, I'm losing paint, so it's like the first time I strike, it has a lot of paint, and then it's like as I go, it has less paint, so there's some trees that are darker than others and gives it a little variance there. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm just going to keep going. Just going to keep going. Your trees don't have to go the whole way, but I think I'm going to make mine go all the way. Maybe a little shorter down here. Let's just keep going. Keep going. Just varying. Varying your tree lengths there. Tree lengths? Tree sizes? I don't know. I don't know. If you really want to get a little spicy and give a little more detail to your trees, you can load it back up and you can give them some branches. So if you do want to give them branches, what you're going to do is you're going to hold your brush horizontally, like that. And again, just using the corner of your brush, but you're just tapping just a little bit and going back and forth like a zipper. if you just want to give a little more detail to some of them, especially some of these ones that are a little closer. Don't forget, if you do that, get a little bit to the reflection too. So when I'm doing the reflection, as you can see, when I'm doing these branches, my handle is pointing downwards, and that means the branches are kind of hanging this way. So if I turn it the other way, they'll hang the other way. So I'll do that for reflections. So now, since it's a reflection, it's going the other way. So now my handle is pointed up. I'll just put a couple details on a couple more here. Just a couple. Okay. And let's go ahead and wipe off the excess there. And I'll go ahead and also clean it off with the paint thinner, give it a swirl. Swirl and a twirl. And then when I do that, I'm also just drying it off. Because like I said, you don't want to get paint thinner in there. You'll be erasing your painting. All right. So I'll go ahead and take one of my 1-inch brushes, and I'm just going to very gently just pull down for reflections. And then I'm going to go across. Wipe that off. Got a little straggler there. Pop him off. I'm not sure if it was a bug or dry paint. I don't know. Anyway, it's gone now. That happens sometimes. I don't know, the bugs, I think they're attracted to the light or whatever, and then they do boop. They just stand on the painting, and I'm like, oh, well, okay. The worst is when it's like drying and then a bug lands on it, like, oh no. But usually when it's dry, you can just brush it right off. It's unfortunate. Sorry, bug. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little highlight on some of these trees. So let's grab my fan brush again. And you can either highlight them with the red or the blue or both, whichever you want. I think I'm feeling blue, So I could just go into some of this color that I had for the mountain shadow. Just kind of wiggle that in there. Just tap. On the side of some of these. I'm not doing all of them, just doing just a couple here. Then I'll highlight those bigger ones that we put highlights on as well. That's good. Let's just go back and highlight those other trees. I'm going to load my brush the exact same way, just kind of wiggling in there. And same thing, just using the corner of my brush, just tapping Just going to tap very lightly. If the highlight color is not coming off easily, put a little bit of liquid white in there. Same thing, I'm going to just reverse it for the reflection there. Just tapping very lightly. So again, this is another situation where you don't want a whole lot of pressure. Just tap very, very lightly. Flip it. Reload. Flip it for the reflection. Okay. And if you ever like over highlight, you can always go back in with black and kind of tone the highlights down a little bit. Let's pull down the reflections and kind of see where we are here. Again, just very, very gently with this. Same thing, going across. So I think I am going to go back in, put a little dark. So I'm just cleaning out my fan brush, picking up a little more of that black. I'm just going to go in and just re-put some of that black in there. Okay. All right. Just a couple more things. Just gonna wipe that off. I'm going to put a little land in for these guys to sit on. So for that, I'll go back to the blue here. Go back to the blue brush. I'm going to take my 1-inch brush and I'm kind of tapping. You see how I'm holding the handle down like this. So I'm just going to tap it so it's just like the edge, like that. And we're just going to tap right on the bottom here just to give a little land, that's all. Just a little bit of land. And give them a little land back here too, just a little bit. All right. wipe that brush out. Then I'm just going to highlight that land a little bit. I'm going to stick with the blue. Blue and white. Let's see. Let's go back to our mountain shadow color there. Yeah, a little more blue in there. A little bit. I think, a little more, All right, I think that's good right there. So I'll clean off my knife. And I'm going to go back to the 1-inch brush here. And I'm going to tap it the exact same way I just did with the land. So holding the handle so it's pointing towards the ground. So you're just tapping the edge there. Just like that. And when you're doing that, you should see that little ridge form. Tap, 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 tap. All right. Then same thing. So I'm going to go in with that same angle and tap very, very, very lightly. So we're just going to boop, just like that. See how it just comes off just like that. Like I said, if it's not coming off easily, just add a little bit of liquid white. We're just going to form these little hills there. So we're going to make the top of them a little lighter, a little bolder. Tap all the way back here. A little here too. All right, I think that's pretty good for the highlights. Maybe a little longer here. Again, whatever you don't like, we can just turn into reflections, not a problem. Okay, I'm liking that. It kind of trails off back there. All right, so let's wipe 1-inch brush off there. And you can do this with the 1-inch or the 2-inch brush, doesn't matter. You can even do it with the fan brush. Fan brush just gives you a little more curve on your land. All right, so wipe that off. And then we'll go back in with that same brush, and I'm just gonna pull down just a little overage here, just to make more reflections. And if you're not liking how the land shaped out, you can, like I said, just reshape it by pulling down some of that extra paint into reflections. All right, looks good there. Wipe the brush out again. All right, and just one more thing to do. We're going to put in waterline. So waterline, you can either use liquid white, or you can just use paint thinner and titanium white. Since I already have the paint thinner and titanium white out, we'll just do that. So let's. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and clean out my fan brush and drip some paint thinner into titanium white here, just kind of like we did before with the stars. So that same kind of consistency there. I'll grab my big knife there. All right, so I'm just mixing in the paint thinner with the titanium white there. Seeing it kind of how it looks like liquid white when you do that. And you can have it either straight white like that, or you can put a little blue into it and flavor it with the blue or the red or whatever color you're using for this particular painting. So again, we're gonna flatten it out like we did with the mountain. And what I like to do when I load my knife for these water lines is I kind of like to come from the bottom like this and kind of push up like that. So you see that little ridge form. And that way you're loading paint right on the edge of the knife. And then what we're going to do, you're going to go in, you're going to act like you're sawing. I'm going to start over here first. Just like that. I'm going to reload. And again, you can use the bigger knife, smaller knife, whichever you prefer. But doing this sawing motion is really cool because you get some parts that are thicker, some that are thinner, and makes it look really nice and natural. It's going to go all the way to the edge on that one. There we go. And got a little bit there. I'm going to go ahead and load just the small part of the knife, that little area right there. Okay. Let's step back and just see if there's anything else I want to add in. And I'm just going to extend these lines a little bit into the water there. Just kind of have them fade out a little. There, just a little more fadey there. All right. All right, and I think we have a finished painting. So thanks so much for painting with me today. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you stuck with the red, white, and blue theme, or if you did a different color combination, like yellow and green or red and purple. That's always one of my favorites. But yeah, let me know. And if there's any other tutorials that you're interested in, just let me know. And then also subscribe and hit that notification button. That way, whenever I upload a tutorial, you'll be the first to know. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.